Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Are you ready?
This live
Are you
talk.
ready?
Live
Are you
talk.
ready?
Yes, sir.
Are you ready? And welcome to Live Talk. I am your host, Arthur Jeremiah, alongside my two co-hosts, Minister Samuel.
Welcome again. Welcome back to Live Talk. Good to see everyone.
And the spiritual ambassador, Yike Ezekiel.
Peace.
All right. And before we go to anything, let's go to our general statement and disclaimer. General statement. Live Talk is proudly powered by TBS Goodwill, Builders of the Highway Foundation, and Men of Purpose. Together, we're bringing about awareness to the everyday challenges facing individuals, communities, and our nation. We tell our stories, listen to yours, and always respect different perspectives. Want to share your voice? Email us at livetalkorl@gmail.com to be a guest, or if you would like to contribute to our mission, purpose, go to livetalkorl.com to give a donation. Disclaimer. Information provided during this event and others to come does not constitute the official opinion of Live Talk or its affiliate entities. It is strongly recommended that viewers seek independent expert advice regarding any topics discussed, as legal requirements differ significantly across jurisdictions and are subject to frequent changes. If you have questions or concerns, you can always email us at livetalkorl@gmail.com, or you can DM us on Facebook and or Instagram at Live Talk Orlando. All right, welcome back. We have to get that out of the way. Just our general statement and disclaimer. And how are my brothers doing? Starting with you, Brother Yike Ezekiel.
Terrific. All has been well in the land.
All right. And Minister.
Doing great for a Saturday morning. Now that we've made our transition, hopefully everyone has joined us back.
Right.
But it's always a wonderful day.
Indeed it is.
Definitely a wonderful day to be back on Live Talk.
Yes, sir. And it's been a little minute. You know, I done left the country, came back from outside of the country.
Glad you came back.
And the thing about it, I brought some gifts for you, brother. So I just want to kind of share, like, Brother Sam, I think you'll love something like this here. I just wanted to kind of.
Oh, that's right into my character. Because I love that lion, and that's reminiscent
and see this
of Judah.
This my scholar over here. This brother over here. I know he loved to read research. So a history of indigenous slavery in Ghana. So what I want you to do, my brother, because I haven't read that book. So please, when you finish, if you may I read that book?
No doubt about that.
Well, that's, I enjoyed myself, though. It was a beautiful time, great experience, a lot of good information, education, a lot of things that I learned that I didn't know. So it was well worth it, And then just looking into some investments, I'm trying to find a way that, I can make it, have dual citizenship. So if something go down here crazy, I can get away from it. No, but that's how my week and my last 2 or 3 weeks been. But to my family, we're just gonna give you a rundown of the show today. First, we'll have the minister, either word or quote of the day. The minister will share something. Right after that, we'll go to a commercial break. And then right after that, our main topic that we'll be talking about today is Florida's new laws, what you need to know. And then we'll come back with another commercial break. And then we'll get into some real news. Being here in Florida, we can't talk enough about hurricane preparedness. So we want to make sure that you are preparing now. You have the right tools so that we're not just rushing the grocery stores or the gas pumps and, everybody trying to find resources at the last moment. So hopefully we can provide some type of information for you to make those choices. Then right after that, we'll end with a motivational quote or reading from the host. And so, Minister, what you have for us today?
Word of the day is gonna be change. Change. Since the laws are changing, we're gonna talk about change.
Mm.
And change is to give a different position, course, or direction. Change is to replace one with another. Change is to put forth fresh clothes or covering on something, to become different, to undergo a transformation, transition, or substitution. Some synonyms for change are to switch, to alter, to transform, to convert, or to turn into. You can change your mind. You can change for the better. You can change your ways. A quote is, if you don't like something, change it.
Mm.
If you can't change it, change your attitude.
Mm.
And it was also said that change will not come if you wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones who've been waiting for it, so we are to change that which we seek. Change.
All right. We're going to be talking about change today because, like you said, a lot of these laws have either changed or have been implemented. And we do want to highlight these laws today because that's one of our missions as Live Talk, to inform the community about different changes in laws, etc. So with that being said, we're going to go to a quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
What do all these people have in common besides a beautiful smile, healthy teeth, and gums? They all use Zadi toothpaste. Zadi toothpaste is made with all natural ingredients. Zadi toothpaste is fortified with moringa and baking soda. Zadi toothpaste is suds-free, making it an excellent choice for kids. All natural, fortified, and suds-free. Get yours today at noystore.com.
All right, so know your rights, new laws in Florida, and how they impact communities. So let's break down what we're going to do today. We're going to break down July the 1st Florida laws from an activist lens. We're going to discuss how these laws affect voting, youth, housing, or the environment. And as you may not know, there was more than 100 laws that went into effect July the 1st. Some changed the rules from certain government procedures, and others amend penalties for violating current laws. Some established new prohibited acts, and another creates an alert system for children with autism who are in peril. Two laws created new protection for dogs and new penalties for animal cruelty. Today, we're going to highlight some of those laws and how they affect our community. But before we do that, we're going to go to a quick, we're going to watch a quick video, and we're going to come right back.
Looking ahead tomorrow, more than 100 new laws will go into effect in our state, covering everything from animal abuse to boating and even education. Now, it really is a lot to get through. And this morning, Sonica Donge going over some of the laws that will affect us the most. Sonica, good morning.
Good morning. We're going to go over quite a few, Alan, but let's start with the laws that affect schools because there are a lot of those. First, we want to begin with ones that have to do with student health. Senate Bill 1514 requires public schools to have emergency action plans and have personnel trained on what to do if a student has an allergic reaction. That includes having EpiPens at the ready. Senate Bill 1070 requires student athletes to present medical evaluations and electrocardiograms before participating in sports. And House Bill 597 allows a student who has provided written confirmation by a parent and doctor to carry diabetic supplies and equipment in school. All right, now to House Bill 593. This is also known as the Pam Rock Act. This bill requires owners of dogs who are deemed dangerous to microchip their pets, secure them, and have at least $100,000 in liability insurance. Also, if there are any investigations surrounding an animal's behavior, authorities will now be able to take them and euthanize them. Another new law will allow condo associations to take out lines of credit for the studies that are now required for condominiums that are 3 stories and higher. It also permits associations to invest their reserves in CDs and bank accounts. And House Bill 279 cracks down on people who make swatting calls. A lot of those calls affected Central Florida over the past year. You may remember an 11-year-old in Virginia threatened Flagler County schools. A California teen threatened to shoot up a mosque in Sanford. And there were ones affecting Cape Canaveral Hospital and homes in our area. The new law would make any false reporting that leads to a death a second-degree felony, or third degree if it leads to injuries. Again, these are just a few of about 100 new laws going into effect tomorrow. From new fluoride guidance to how state parks will be managed, and even more laws that will affect the upcoming school year. We have much more information online at wesh.com. Alan?
All right, so there you go. There was over 100 laws that passed July the 1st. Now, just keep in mind when we talk about laws that pass, when those laws pass, we don't always get the memo those laws pass. So it's important that we have platforms such as this here that can share that information, that we tune into, that can share that information. And the first question I want to ask you brothers today, why is it important to shine a light on newly passed laws?
Well, because first of all, those laws that have been enacted, now, if you're not conscious of them, you're subject to break them. And a lot of these laws have amended punishment code that goes along with it. So what have been a misdemeanor may now be a third or second degree felony or some jail time. So that can affect your life in an adverse way by, taking you off the streets, meaning you losing your job, which means you get evicted, which means now that's on your record, which your future is going to be very bleak by somebody else renting an apartment to you after you got that eviction on. So you got to become conscious of these laws because it can affect not only you, but everybody that's connected to you.
Indeed. Want to add something to that, brother?
No, just to put an exclamation point is, unfortunately, we normally find out about the law once it's being executed upon you.
Right.
And they say ignorance of the law is no excuse. But that will do you no good when you're standing before the judge.
Right. No, that was 2 great points, because our community is the last to know about everything. But we're the first to get into an incident that we lose, our life, or we either, lose time from our loved ones. So great points from both of you. Next question here. And before we get into highlighting our actual laws, what's the value of making sure the public knows about? Oh, hold on, no. This is the one I want to share. Where can the public find current Florida laws and statutes?
Well, you can actually go right to the website with the Florida statutes. Nowadays, you can simply Google it and it will show you, like for example, at the Florida Senate or the Florida House, and it will highlight all the laws. You can go right to the website. You can see, it might be boring, but you can see where it was introduced, who introduced it, what they did in committee, shows you when it goes into effect. It's all there, public information, but you have to go there to look for it.
Right. And just in case you want to say something.
Yeah, or you can always go down to the public library and look at the statutes. Because again, these laws will affect your life. They passed a law where they can hike up milk to $7 a gallon. You want to know about that.
Right. You want to have a say in that because it all affects how you vote too. Because when you find out who implemented these laws or what committee came together with these laws, now you know how to vote. I may not want to vote for that individual there that was a part of that committee
Right.
that implemented that law. So understanding that is very important as well. So good. I mean, we're getting right into the meat of things because the next question here is, what are some of the key new laws that recently went into effect in Florida? And we did just watch a video, but what we're going to talk about today is some of the laws that we highlighted, because it was over 100 laws. We can't talk about each and every one of them, but we can talk about those that we feel like is close to our community. So I'm going to start with you, Minister. Like, what is a particular law that stands out to you and why you feel like it's significant or important?
It would have been HB 903 that deals with corrections,
Okay.
and it's a lot of stuff in it. How it deals with, especially how inmates can be treated, trying to file criminal or civil lawsuits. And I'm not a lawyer, but it's making it tougher for you to try to get justice. And unfortunately, us being a larger part of the prison system, that means it makes it more difficult on us. But the reason I highlighted this one, and it's not, this one has a lot in it, but it gets into just the reality of, like when you were saying, knowing who to vote for. And living here in Florida, a lot of the laws they pass, and it's like they're taking things backwards. Like, for example, on the execution methods, if it's not unconstitutional, then that depends on how they want to interpret that. Like right now, it's lethal injection. That's the death penalty. But if with this law being passed, they could supersede that, and it could go to where now you could be the gas chamber.
The firing squad.
You could go before a firing squad.
Wow.
It's like we're going backward. Or if it's not considered, could they go back to the electric chair? Who's going to make that decision? Because now it's open for interpretation for someone to make that decision. And we can see those who now sit in those seats are making decisions that we all thought was unconstitutional, but those decisions are being made. So it will be unfortunate, but the reality is usually if we on death row, especially if we innocent and we were found guilty, you got to exhaust you exhausting a lot of appeals that you may not be able to get through to. So now they go, if you get pushed up farther and now your execution is like, now we can put you before the firing squad or the death chamber. You may not even have had a chance to extend all your appeals because there may be some mitigating circumstances that could have found you innocent. Because we know we've been in prison, some of us for 20, 25 years, and then get found out later, it get overturned. Okay, but what good is it for it to get overturned and you already been executed?
Wow. And this law went into effect July the 1st?
This one, I believe, went into July 1st.
Okay.
It's almost September, but I think this one went into effect July the 1st.
Okay. And is it fully built? Or that's something we probably need to just make sure we monitor?
It needed to be monitored because what I saw in it had a lot of different things when it deals with the Department of Corrections. So if you have a loved one that's an inmate, it definitely could directly affect it to know they might have been working through their case and now this just put a roadblock in their case, or just put a whole nother layer of red tape. They could have been this close to either getting an appeal that's now finna move them toward innocence. Now you just put a whole nother roadblock. That can be very disconcerting.
All right. So for those that are listening out there, especially if you're an attorney or something, I know you know about these current laws, and putting together platforms that can share information with us is going to be very important, especially with our community. Did we have a comment? What is the comment?
The comment says most of the information is in plain sight. Most of us aren't taught to see it.
Right, right. We appreciate that. We appreciate you chiming in, because that is true. My brother's missing two platforms. If we're talking to our younger generation, the website. If we're talking to our younger and our older generation, the library. If you read, you go to the library, you can find a lot of these laws as well. But we do have to look for them. We really do have to look for them, because we got to know the laws. Same question to you, Ambassador.
It was House Bill 113.
Okay.
That particular bill is about the fleeing and eluding the police. We know in our community, we always on the run. But the thing that's standing out now is when you're on the run, they have what they call aggravated eluding now. So now it's up to the officer's discretion to say that you are aggravated eluding him, which can cause that to go from being a misdemeanor to a felony. And we know when you get up into felonies, that can change the course of your life. You don't want felonies on your record, because even if you go apply for a Burger King job and they see that right there, that can be counted against you. And all you was doing was just jumping out of the car and running because you were scared once you got pulled over.
Right.
Our history has showed us once some red and blue lights get behind us, our heart drop immediately.
Yes.
Whether we in the right or whether we in the wrong. It's just that you never know what the outcome of this being pulled over can be. So you run, you try to elude, you try to get away. And especially if you're doing some type of illegal activity. And now with them being able to aggravate that right there, that just ups it. It can put you in a bad position, and it's up to the officer's discretion, and that's the problem.
Yes.
Because he may come to work that day with anger issues that he bringing from home or from earlier on work and take it out on you. So that's a very dangerous thing, because you're giving somebody power that shouldn't have that type of power over other people's life based on, as I said, their mentality at the moment. So we have to be very careful for y'all people out there that's running.
All right, so this one particularly, I think it goes into effect October, or is this July the 1st?
July the 1st. That
July the
went
1st.
into
Okay.
effect.
Okay.
I think that one's October 1st.
October.
Okay, that one. Let me do research. It might be going October. It is coming.
Okay.
From my understanding, he signed it, but that one may double check. But if it's not July, it's October.
Okay.
113.
Yeah, it's July.
It is July, so
Okay.
it's effective now.
Yeah.
Okay.
It went in effect.
So
So you don't have no time.
So know this, parents. Parents, if you're listening, if you are listening, first parents, tell your children if you know that they're not doing something that's right, and if they're not, if they're doing something that's right, like my brother said, it's this instinct that immediately, or this, it's something that comes over us when the police gets behind us. And all the time, it ain't that we're in the wrong. History has shared with us what happens to our people, what has happened to our people. So that's just a fear that we normally have. So even if you're not doing something, just understand that resisting can be just you not giving information. They have ways of determining what resistance is. So just be very careful about that, because we don't want our young people just graduating from high school getting a felony because they deemed him or her resisting. And that's the reason why we try to highlight these laws and try to make them, real in our community. Now I'm gonna share HB 351.
Hold on one second.
Oh, go ahead.
You were right. It is the 1st of October.
October the 1st. So October the 1st.
But he already signed it.
Yeah, it's already signed, but it's just when it goes into effect. Yeah. Okay. I kind of had some information around, but I just want to make sure, it's not that far away.
No, that's a couple months.
If we're talking about it right now, listen, adhere to it. All right, so HB 351. Now, this talks about speeds kill, and now it's criminal. And I just want to give a picture of this. Just think about driving down I-4, I-95. It's late. The road is quiet until a blur of headlights blows past you at 110 miles per hour. No sirens, no accountability, just danger. In Florida, that kind of reckless driving has been happening for far too long. And it's not just scary, it's deadly. In 2024 alone, we saw over 330,000 crashes on Florida roads. Thousands of lives lost, pedestrians, cyclists, children, entire families. And in too many cases, the driver wasn't drunk, wasn't distracted, and they was just going too fast. That's why lawmakers passed Bill 351, Florida's new super speeding law, which officially took effect on July the 1st, 2025. So this is in effect right now, today. And HB 351 makes it a criminal offense, not just a ticket, if you drive more than 50 miles per hour over the speed limit or operate a vehicle at 100 miles per hour plus in a reckless manner. Now, the first offense, you could face jail time, fines up to $500, and a mandatory court appearance. Repeat offense within 5 years, now we're talking about 90 days in jail, a $1,000 fine, and your license could be revoked for up to a year. Now, this isn't about punishment for punishment's sake. It's about protection. Because in communities of color, especially in under-resourced areas, people are more likely to walk, bike, and take public transit. We don't always have the privilege of stealing airbags. So when someone turns the road into a racetrack, it's our neighborhoods that pay the price. Now, HB 351 is a start, but laws only work if they are enforced fairly, and if drivers understand the stakes. Speeding isn't just reckless, it's a weapon. And now in Florida, it finally comes with consequences. Now, what I want to do, I want to get a little bit more into this one because I want people to understand how this is enforced, the equity behind it, and the community power that relies into that as well. So when it comes to enforcement, law enforcement is now empowered to treat extreme speeding as a criminal offense, not just a traffic citation. Listen to this, some people. They are now empowered to treat extreme speeding as a criminal offense, not just a traffic citation. That's very important. It's very important to our youth as well, because first-time drivers, my son is a first-time driver. If he get on the road and start speeding now, after July the 1st, he can be subject to a criminal offense. Whereas before, it was just a traffic citation. Now, here's what they look for. Driving 50 miles per hour over the posted speed limit, reckless operation at 100 miles per hour, even if you're not in a school zone or residential area. Now, these are no longer slap on the wrist moments. Officers can arrest you. The case can go to court. Your license can be taken. But here's the big question. Will this law be enforced fairly across all communities? We know that always happens.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Possible.
Historically, Black and brown drivers have been unreasonably stopped, searched, and cited. even when they weren't breaking the law. So now that HB 351 gives officers more discretion, we have to ask who's being pulled over under this law, who's going to jail, are white drivers on interstate being left off with warning, while black youth are getting charges. So the action plan here, what can we do? We have to push our city or our county to release traffic stop and arrest data for race, zip code, and outcome. Shine a light on every bias and how HB 351 is enforced. And basically what this means is we have to become more connected in our community. We have to go to the city hall, we have to involve ourselves, and we have to ask these questions, because when laws are implemented, we need to know the data behind the laws. Who is it affecting the most, and why is it affecting us the most when we make up the less percentage in the US? But it affects us the most at a higher rate. Now, I have a lot of other information about this here because I think it's very important. Because like I said, I have a son. You have a daughter, 17 or 18, and you have nephews and nieces. It's important that we get this information out. And those that are listening audience, you have sons, you have daughters, you have nephews and nieces. So it's important that this information is, given to them, and we bring awareness to this, because we don't want to see them sitting in a jailhouse with a criminal record when they had a scholarship to go to a prestigious college or something, right? So we want to make sure, and children make mistakes because they're young. So we want to make sure that this type of information is shared with our youth. And I just say final thoughts on this here. Enforcement with equity. HB 351 gives Florida a powerful tool to slow people down and save lives. But it's up to us to make sure it's not used to target, but to protect. Because safety shouldn't depend on what neighborhood you live in or what color you are behind the wheel. And that's the key point right there. And when it comes to any of these laws. Any questions centered around there? Any comments on that?
Because what you're saying is so true, and I'm gonna take it down a notch, because how you point out that yes, and we driving at those unsafe speeds, their vehicle can become a weapon of destruction, and we want that to stop. But the other side of that is we know young people make stupid mistakes.
Right.
And what you say about equity, it's up to the discretion of a law enforcement officer. You stop child A, you could give them a ticket. You can stop child B and they now have a felony. There is where it can be used again, and that's going to be used against us, because your son, my daughter, is the one who's going to be getting a felony. And if they say it can be treated as a criminal, not only is that a fine, that means they can use lethal force.
Right.
If the officer feels that way. But then, like you say, who are they going to use the lethal force against? Who are they charging it as a felony? Who will just get a simple moving violation? That accountability is what's going to be the key.
So what we need to do is go down to City Hall and have them create a structure that would allow equity to be enforced all around the board. Because as an officer, it's up to my discretion when I see you doing 80 in a 30-mile zone, young, and you black, I already have a stereotype of you. Now with you doing this right here, yeah, it's hard to catch you. So I may need to use some type of force just to slow you down. And my objective may not be to harm you, but to stop you from harming somebody else since you speeding through the neighborhood like that right there. So my mind may be, I'm gonna just shoot your tire out since you ain't stopped. But you hit a speed bump or you hit the switches on your car and it raised up and now the bullet hit you in the back or in the leg or anything like that right there. So with the disproportionate way that Black communities, the Latino communities have already been targeted with just racial profiling. Now you're allowing them to use force behind it. And again, it's at my discretion. So if I come to work with my problems, then yeah, I'm looking for somebody to take it out on. And you're the perfect suspect. You may not have even been speeding, but now that they've given me this aura of invulnerability to where I can just do what I want to do basically because my badge backs me up. Or I may need to feed the prison machine. So I'm gonna just start pulling y'all over for speeding, giving y'all felonies to put you in a position to start going to prison as these felonies begin to add up. And who knows, I may pull you over and find something else in the car that I add to that felony. Or getting a felony, and as you say now, your licenses are suspended, which means you can't get to work. So we back to the domino effect. I can't work, I can't pay my bills, I can't feed my family, etc. So you're giving law enforcement a large stick to beat particular communities with. So there has to be a checks and balances. Even in the White House, each one of the branches has a check and balance with one another. There seems to be no check and balances. So it's the communities who's going to be affected by this that, hey man, we need to pool our resources, get down here to these city halls and tell our people that's in power that, hey, we understand this law because I don't want my 3-4-year-old grandchild walking to the ice cream truck and this dude doing 70 and run her over. So yeah, he needs to slow down. However, you need to be able to check how these officers deal with the situation when they pull them over. Do they get a ticket? Do they get a criminal record? How are we going to apply this across the board? That's what they don't have. They don't have it to where the equity will be automatically because there's a standard. So we need to come up with a standard. And when I say we, I mean the community. Because they didn't put down in when they passed this law.
Bingo.
They just said, hey man, you officers, y'all got this power right here. Do it at your own discretion. And each officer's discretion is going to be different.
Yeah, you got some good officers, others wild, wild west.
Correct.
And see, this one goes right back into 113.
Right.
Because that's a double. Right on. Now they got you for 2 at their discretion. At their discretion, you now have 2. So somebody gonna get stopped and they're gonna have 4 charges. Somebody could get stopped and have a warning or just a basic ticket, depending on what color they were or what they look like when they stop them in that car.
And that's why it's so important that we share this information, and hopefully we can look some in our community and see whoever else that may want to share it. Like, because each one of these laws that we talk about can be a whole show. We can talk about this like in a whole show, like breaking this down, the awareness behind it, etc. Because the points that you make is critical points, because when you give somebody so much power, they say absolute power corrupts absolutely. So we don't want to give someone so much power that it becomes corrupted. So the best way to monitor like these laws is to next year when we look at it from a year and we look at that data. I know I didn't look at the race, but it's 2 people that it was 2 cases that I see that was affected by this law. One happened, well, matter of fact, one of them was I think it was I don't know if it was a Haitian descent, but was a Black person. And then the one, another one just happened here in Apaka, where a person was speeding 50 miles over the speed limit and they was arrested. So they're actively arresting people and implementing this law. So just know that it's active right now. All right, man. So we're going to go to another law. What other law kind of stands out to you?
And we talking a lot about motor vehicles. We go do HB 253, motor crimes. And the reason because we're all driving, and this one, it deals with, read it out of the statute, It's like it deals with the penalties. Now, if you pretending to be a police officer, if you putting traffic lights or something, pretending to be a police officer and you stopping people, that's going to be really bad. I think that one needs to be in place because we don't want our mothers, wives, daughters being pulled over by someone and you think they're a police officer and then you find out they're not.
Which one is this? HB
253. Like if you're not allowed to put certain kind of lights on your cars.
Okay.
Like the fire department got lights. You're a tow truck, police officer, them red and blue. Can't use those. But what stood out to me about this one was about if you obscure your license plate and you try to change it, it's like now they move misdemeanors to felonies. And the important part of that is with driving, it's like this is one you really need to pay attention to because people will lose their insurance. If you don't have insurance, you can't get no tag. So it's supposed to turn tag in. So you can go steal somebody's tag, or you go borrow somebody's tag, put it on your car, and you go drive it. That is now a felony. You commit a crime while doing that. Now, no longer misdemeanor, you're looking at major felonies. It even gets into obscuring your tag, like you want to try to cover it up. And that seems to be minor. But then if you get stopped here again at the discretion of a police officer and you were obscuring that tag, especially if you were in the commission, you could have been shoplifting. Now, the shoplifting is okay, but now you're committing a felony. So it's like, please don't take for granted when you're driving and what you can do with a tag or somebody else's tag, or you go change a number on your tag. Now it's no longer just a minor misdemeanor. You're looking at a felony, and felonies lead to serious repercussions on your record as well as jail time.
It was the law that and that was HB 253. Okay, and we know Pastor, you want to share some on that or?
Oh no, he covered that right there. Don't be riding around with no fake license. We riding around with no expired tags.
You know what?
That's now a felony.
Yeah,
people used to take it off and say, put a piece of cardboard and say lost tag.
Yeah,
right.
That's a felony.
And I done seen people drive through the tolls with the tags obscured, and it's like hold on, and people do this often, but now you need to know what the law says. Do we have a comment? Oh, okay.
I didn't think about that one. See, you just got into that same. You think you're trying to avoid paying a toll? You just created a felony now.
Right.
For $1.50 toll.
Now you finna go spend bond money.
Right. All right, Ambassador. Same question for you. The law kind of stands out to you.
Like you said, you can't really get enough of that 351. It covers a lot of areas. I was astounded when I was learning about that speed law. Like I said, just too much of an opportunity for communities to become decimated by felonies.
And whose community is affected by it?
Normally the poor communities. Because the poor communities, guess what? They have more police in their communities. So the bigger percentage of the police force that's in your community, the greater the chances of them being able to pull people over just by sheer numbers. So this is why it's going to affect poor communities at a bigger rate. At a bigger rate. There's not many officers in the upper class communities because they deem them as law-abiding citizens. Most of these people, they live in residential areas where speed limits don't be number 20 and 30, and then they're older. So chances of them being speed demons been gone. They may have the cars from back in the days to remind themselves, but you can see any elderly people driving slow on the road. Poor communities got to become more conscious now that when this law go in effect, it's going to hit us hard.
And I would like to add on to that. When you say the poor communities, the other side of that is, if you get stopped or your child gets stopped in the affluent communities, so you can hire a lawyer, and they can push those charges down really easy if you got a good lawyer. So it'll be just traffic and minimize it. But when you're in a poor community and you don't have representation, automatically it's going to be the maximum. You're going to get the maximum.
It's an incident. One of my wife's friends, her son, which was very close to us, he was staying in California though, but it was a street that is known for people to go racing, and he got caught up in the mix of that. Of course, he lost his life behind that. But it's laws like this that we have to implement and put into place to make sure it punishes those who do those type of violate, speed limits or do things where they're trying to get by on registering their tags, or doing certain things that's illegal. But we do want to be mindful, like you said. We do want to be mindful, and I always talk about this and who it affects the most. And like what you said, in poor communities, it's heavily police, where in the areas that people have a little bit more money, it's not as police as those other areas. So it's all about who we put in those communities, so that now that we are not discriminated against a stereotype, because if you put the wrong police in that community, it's going to automatically discriminate against our youth, against us. So that's why being connected in the community, speaking to the local police and chiefs and police, sheriff, letting them know how we feel, and letting them know that we're going to hold them accountable when it comes to these new laws that they have implemented and put in place. All right.
One other thing concerning this, as the community, as I said earlier, that these are the people that need to go down and enforce it. Let's look at this from the perspective that we know we have young drivers and even elder drivers that like to drive fast. So why not tell the lawmakers, hey, it's inevitable that people are going to speed. That's why you got express lanes on the highway. So why not create certain places within the communities that's for speed? Because if a community needs a park, you'll build that. If they need certain restaurants, you'll build that. Since you know that people are going to speed, they build racetracks, stuff like that. They got NASCAR buildings. So they got places where you can go fast. Put a place like that in a poor community, since they're more prone to go fast. You 15, 16, 17, you got your license, you want to hit the road, you ain't realizing, the power of that motor in that car. So you touch it and it takes off. Now, just off of that right there, you got a felony. Now that may be hard for you to get into schools, anything. So look, advocate that they have roads where, hey, on this road right here, this is our version of Germany's Autobahn. This is where we go to race at right here. So you already know when you hit this street right here, what it is. So it don't be no issues. And then you can take some of them police that just lurking on the side of the road and put them over there to kind of regulate everything. Because they're going to do it. You know it. That's why you passed this law.
Well, I would say get to the car dealership, like the manufacturer of cars. Don't put the limit as 100 miles per hour. If you don't want nobody to go.
Or 150.
Or 150, 200 miles per hour. If you know the speed limit don't allow us to go that fast.
They're not going. How many cars you think they're going to sell? And you just got the Dodge, and it only max out at 60.
Right.
Nobody's going to buy these cars. So these dealerships understand that, okay, if you foolish enough to go 200 because it's on the dash, then that's on you.
Right.
They feel they have no accountability.
Right. But see, you make them accountable.
And I agree with that. If you really want to stop these car crashes, which is one of the leading causes of death in America, then just like you put legal limitations on alcohol.
Mhm.
Okay, people are going to drink. However, we want you to be this particular age before you start drinking legal. So do the same thing. The automakers really want to stop that. It's no problem. Like you say, put that governor on all these cars. Okay, new law. Every car that comes out after such and such time, max is 60.
Or 80.
80, yeah.
Max is 80 for the highway. Put the governor on the car that no matter what you do, the car ain't gonna go that fast. And you'll see the rate drop. Just like if you put a new police force within a particular community, y'all assigned just to this neighborhood, the crime rate gonna go down. Because everywhere you look, you see the police. It's gonna be hard for you to post up on the block because they already on the block. So there's ways to to slow down anything that's an epidemic in a community. But like I said, this particular law is going to promote the destruction of the family because of that lead foot. You're going to get tickets, you're going to get felonies, and telling how many times you do that back to back, you're going to jail. So we have to be conscious of that.
Well, I would definitely say, and I heard you say about engagement, and this is one, because I know there's a meeting coming up here recently, here in Central Florida, with a police chief. He goes out in the community. And I would definitely be asking questions about these fleeing, HB 113, as well as these 253 and the 351, about enforcement and the transparency. How are your officers going to implement that so that it's done equitably within our community? Because here's the thing, the local police and sheriffs didn't write these laws. It came from Tallahassee.
Right.
But then once it comes from Tallahassee, it's on them to enforce it.
Right.
So the question is, how are you going to enforce it? Mm-hmm. Are you going to enforce it equitably or inequitably?
Mm-hmm. Depends on how I feel when I get up.
Right. It's about that day.
Right.
All right, so I think we have time enough about two more laws. I'm gonna share. I want to share this particular law. It's a little outside of probably the laws that we're gonna share, and the only reason I want to share this here is it's more of it reminded me of a gentleman that was real close to us that came on to the show talking about autism, and we lost him. Right before I went out the country, his wife had called me and told me he had passed away. And it's Herman Murphy, but his son had autism, has autism. And and when I seen this law, it was HB 711. And I just want to share this here because, and this for all parents really. But imagine this, your child, your baby is missing. They're on the spectrum. They don't respond to strangers. They're afraid of loud noise. They can't call for help. And every second could be the difference between life and death. This is the fear that thousands of parents live with, especially in the Black and brown community and in low-income communities where resources are scarce and I say urgency doesn't always show up. Florida's new law, House Bill 711, aims to change this. It creates something called the Spectrum Alert, a new emergency system designed to quickly spread the word when a child with autism spectrum disorder goes missing. It's like an Amber Alert, but with a deeper understanding of what it means to find a child who may not speak, may wander towards water, or may hide when his name is called. It also mandates that law enforcement officers get trained, not just on search protocols, but on understanding autistic behavior, communication, and de-escalation. That matters because far too often our children are misunderstood as threats instead of a child in crisis. But here's the thing. Laws don't enforce themselves. We, the community, need to make sure that this alert gets built and built right. We need to make sure officers exactly or actually gets that training, not just check a box. And we need to ask, what happens when that missing child is Black? Will the alert still go out? Will the media still care? Because if the system doesn't work for all of us, it doesn't work at all. HB 711 gives us a tool, but it's on us to use it, to watchdog it, and to make sure that when the next child goes missing, they're not invisible. Now, I wanted to share that because I want those that may have children on the spectrum to understand that there is a law in place when it comes to this here. The biggest issue that we have had, even when we had people coming on to the show that talks about it, and we're fortunate to have two people that came onto the show to talk about it from a realistic standpoint. Because in our community, we don't always get our children diagnosed. And that becomes the issue. Because if you're saying a child is missing and you don't tell them that the child is on the spectrum and the police are looking for them, they don't really know what to look for. But when you tell them that they're on the spectrum, when you have done the diagnosis that you're supposed to have done, that they're on the spectrum, you tell them what their communication levels are. Now, officers that are trained can then now act on this situation, because it's important that we have trained officers in place to deal with this here. Now, I want to share how it works, and then I'm gonna share a little bit how it works. The first step is when a parent or guardian reports a child that has ASD or spectrum or autism spectrum disorder is missing. Law enforcement then determines the eligibility. Now, there's an eligibility requirement. The child must be under the age of 18, officially diagnosed with ASD, and there must be reason to believe they are at risk. The next step is statewide alert activated. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement, the FDLE, assists in alert or issues the alert. It broadcasts to media outlets like TV and radio, on highway message boards, through the lottery system, to local police department and regional partners. Now, prices behind this here. When officers are trained to understand ASD behaviors, a child may not respond to, understanding this here, a child may not respond to their name. That's why they have to be trained. May avoid eye contact, might run towards danger instead of running away from danger, and might even hide from from searchers. Now, the goal is to speed up location and reduce harm, especially near water where many ASD-related deaths occur. And I share this here, and I open up the floor. I think we have one more. We could probably share one more law. But the biggest risk, the most risk when it comes to this is children with limited verbal communication. Those who have history of wandering or elopement, and children who are sensitive to loud noise or who don't respond well to strangers, and the Black and brown children on the spectrum who's already face implicit bias and over policing. So we have to be mindful and understand this here, and take the initiative to dig a little bit deeper into this. And because as a community, as a village, even if there's a neighbor that you have noticed that their child on the spectrum, but they just can't come to the terms with that, to do a diagnosis, to really put that within the system so that, people would know, the police would know. We as a community have to be that extra layer. So if that was to happen where the child is missing and the police come to talk to you, they may not want, the communication would be, they may not want to acknowledge that their child on the spectrum, but sir or ma'am, their child is on the spectrum. So brain train officers to deal with them. because I have seen it and I have witnessed it. But that comes from a community standpoint that we take the initiative to protect ourselves within the community. But I want to share that because I think it's something that really touch home in our community, that we do have children on the spectrum that we don't always recognize, or we're in denial about, you know. And that's, again, HB 711. You can research that law, where the minister has shared when we talk about going to the different website. The House of the House, the Senate. You can go online to Florida statutes, and you can check from there. Like my brother said, you can go to the library, but read more up on it. Find out as much as you can about it. But parents, if you know your child on the spectrum, get them diagnosed and make sure that they're in the system so that they would know. All right, man. So we got one more law. Can we share one more?
Just a question on that one, because I know this, because they're supposed to establish this alert system.
Mm-hmm.
Can the parent initiate that and get it into that, or can the parent actually get that initiated, or is there something they have to do to initiate it? Do you know?
All right. So parents, this is what's told when it comes to parents: pre-register your child with local law enforcement if they are on the spectrum. Make an emergency info card, diagnose triggers, common tools, favorite hiding spots, install child-proof locks or GPS tags if wandering is a concern. So it's things that parents can do to make sure that if it happens, they can share with the police officers so that they kind of know what it is that they're looking for and how to deal with it.
That could be extremely dangerous with a 15, 16-year-old child that's can't speak and runs away. What are they going to think? So as a parent, you need to be precautious and take that particular time to go down there, allow these people to know that your child has these particular ailments of autism, what degree it is, in order to save your child's life.
Right.
That could be the difference between them bringing a non-trained officer out there as opposed to a trained officer that can deal with it, because a non-trained may see his particular actions, because some of these child, may scream and just run at the officer instead of running away. But now he's seeing, 200-pound 15-year-old running toward him. Oh, I'm going to stand my ground.
Yep.
Right.
And it can become fatal, just like that right there. Where had the officer know that, okay, this child has this degree of autism, this is how we need to treat him. This is how we need to deal with the situation. So parents, it's vital on your part to get your child registered so that law enforcement does know what type of mentality that they will encounter if your child was to come up missing.
Indeed. All right, Minister. Do we have enough time for one more?
Yeah, we'll get into this one. It was, because this is one that's it's actually House bill. It's called 999 under legal tender. And
oh yeah, that's a good one.
It's kind of revising something. Basically, it's saying you can actually use, if it's determined and it's marked with the purity of the silver or the gold, that you could use this as legal tender to pay your taxes and pay different things with it. And they're making that like a law. But the reason I want to bring that one up is, especially in our community, when we inflation is high, the dollar up and down. When they're gonna they're saying you can use silver or gold to pay certain bills, specifically taxes. So now the government is saying they're willing to accept it. Should make the light bulb go off in your head,
right?
That there's something very important about silver and gold, especially, and then they put it 999.
Right.
So it's kind of like a euphemism. What they telling you, if it's the real thing, we want it. If they want it, What they're telling you is you should be acquiring some for yourself, because they're saying we will accept it for you. Don't have to give us the green paper. We would rather you give us, we'll accept silver and gold. If they're telling you that, you need to get yourself in possession of some silver and gold and keep it. Please don't use it to give it back to them to pay off any debts or taxes, even though they're making it a law. Yes. Now, if you got a room stocked as high as this one, okay, maybe you might want to do that. But if you have none, what they're telling you is you need to be acquiring something. That's what I'm reading into that, because I said 999 and it's silver and gold.
Let me ask you something about that, because you're talking about paying taxes. Now, using the silver and gold, was that a way to avoid taxes though? Because it seemed like this is a way to try to push you to do what you're saying, so that they can get it by saying, okay, you don't have to pay taxes if you use silver and gold. I may be wrong.
Now, see, we may need to get a lawyer, but the way it was part of this written, it says the government entities may recognize gold, coin, and silver as legal tender for payment of taxes, charges, or dues, and may tender such coins for the payment of debts.
Okay.
So any government entity choosing to accept the tender gold may do so electronically, but then they kind of had some regulatory requirements on the value, because you know that if it's got a $1 face value, it's gonna have a lot more than $1, which will have to be determined. But I don't think it was exempting you. Now that, well, if you wanted to pay it with the silver and gold, you wouldn't have to pay it with dollars. But I don't know if you having possession of it would exempt you from it. That might be a legal question. But when I can see this fact that because imagine me going down the, this is live talk. We're gonna create us a paper that say live talk, $100. I'm on the 100, you on the 50, you on the 20. And we gonna go down there and say we want to use it. They're gonna say, I'm sorry, we're not accepting that. We can create all the paper. We can put Barack Obama's face on one and say that it's the 50. They're not gonna accept it. But they will accept your silver and gold. To me, it seems like they looking, because at one point years ago, they actually confiscated all the silver and gold, kind of made it illegal when they took us off the gold standard. Like our dollars used to be backed by silver and gold. Our dollars are no longer backed by silver and gold. They Federal Reserve notes. So it's backed by the full, I'm putting up air quotes, by the full faith of the U.S. government. I don't know how much faith we got in them. So that means if you got $1 million, that don't necessarily mean they got $1 million worth of silver and gold to back it. And that was a way for them to confiscate it. Now they asking for it. They're not making it mandatory, but they're giving you an option. I would say, please don't, for our people, don't execute that option. I say now's the opportunity for you to not go get you something.
Because it's going up, like the price of gold and silver is going up. They see this here. So yeah, they want it, but if you have gold and silver, make sure you keep it and you acquire more.
Correct, because you got to remember, at one point, since 1911, gold and silver was the standard. Paper money ain't come out until 1912. So you have to ask yourself now why they're reverting back to gold and silver. So if you have that, gold and silver is a medium exchange that I can take anywhere on the planet. Other countries may not take the American dollar. And like you say, now the American dollar doesn't hold a dollar value no more. But that silver and gold ain't gonna never lose its value.
And we're just not talking about maybe your silver and your gold necklace or what have you. That is part of it now.
Yeah.
We're not gonna take away from that. But there's like silver, we're talking about 999, like my brother, what he was talking about. We talk about 24 karat gold, which is, pure gold. That's the type of silver and gold that they're looking for. But they'll take this too now. They'll take all type of silver and gold now.
I see the American dollar, which you pointed out. Now you see, that American Eagle, 999, that's the real McCoy. Or if you getting a billion, 999, that's the real McCoy. You talking about the green dollars. That may not be accepted everywhere. A lot of people, but that silver and gold is that's a gold that's standard around the world.
Mm-hmm. That's right. You go anywhere with that. All right, so we're gonna go to a commercial break, and we're gonna come back with some community news, community news, because we're gonna talk about Florida still. We're gonna keep it on Florida. We'll be
Because
ready.
Scott and Associates always treats me like family, I refer my family to them. So when preparing for my taxes and I know exactly what to bring in coming in, it makes the process so much easier. Anyone should hire Scott and Associates because they are professional, respectful, and very knowledgeable. And with all of my heart, I can always count on them.
What do all these people have in common besides a beautiful smile, healthy teeth, and gums? They all use Zodi toothpaste. Zodi toothpaste is made with all natural ingredients. Zodi toothpaste is fortified with moringa and baking soda. Zodi toothpaste is suds-free, making it an excellent choice for kids. All natural, fortified, and suds-free. Get yours today at noystore.com.
All right, so welcome back. But we'll transition. We transition a little bit until we're gonna talk about hurricane season. You know, in Florida we have a season that called hurricane season. So that's something that we want to share, that it's July. We want to get a head start on it and share with our listening audience the importance of hurricane season and what you can do now. So there are 4 different points we're going to talk about. The first one is going to be build your emergency kit. The second one we're going to talk about prepare your home. Third, we're going to talk about your know your zone. Basically having a plan in place, and then staying connected to emergency outlets, etc. So let's start from the top. When it comes to like hurricane season, when it comes to hurricane season, building an emergency kit is very important. So what will be some of those things that you'll put in an emergency kit? That's where we want to go.
Well,
Go ahead, sir.
well, the first thing everybody gonna go for is the water. So that's the first thing that you're gonna go for. Second thing will be your health items, just in case you're diabetic. When you take your insulin when you got asthma, make sure you got your pumps. So those are, to me, the 2 most important things that a person needs to secure.
Right.
And secondly, you go along with that, then you need to get some non-perishable food, just like canned goods, something dried, free, things that you can eat that don't require cooking. And you want to be able to have it preferably already purchased. Like say your kit, it's supposed to already be in your home. Because when the power goes off, that means the stores aren't going to be open. You can't run down to Walmart or Publix. Because when the power off, they're not opening the doors.
Right.
They're not going to let you in.
Right. And there's a couple of more things. We talk about flashlights,
Yes.
batteries. We can't talk about that enough, especially if you got a family. You want to make sure that each person in each room, whether it's a candle or some type of flashlight, so that when the power goes out, you have something, as far as light that you can walk around and you don't be in the dark. The other thing, one of the things that I do is make sure I have cash. You said something about power and not, certain things not working. Like, for instance, Walmart's going to be closed. The ATM machines may be down. And if you got enough gas, because we do want to make sure gas, thank you, speak on gas. We want to make sure gas is another one. We want to make sure we have enough gas so that we can get to another city, another state that may be functional. And then we need to have cash with us at that time so that we can now be able to purchase, do the things we need to do. So I think those are great points of items that we need when it comes to the emergency kit. Now, the next thing here is kind of preparing your home. Now, how do we go about preparing our home or whatever living quarters that we are in?
I think you put own a home, get the shutters, try to board it up as much as possible, try to get you some sandbags. And those are the basic things right there. Boarding it up, sandbags.
And another point too, depending on your neighborhood, if you live in an overhead neighborhood, meaning your power lines come to your house overhead from the pole to drop, you want to make sure that you have the trees trimmed specifically around your power lines, because the power company, they will take care of it when it's along the street. But the trees that are on your property, especially if they won't maintain those. And it doesn't take but a good 56. It can be a storm, not even a hurricane, but in a hurricane, it don't take much. And a limb that's the size of your arm, not even your thigh, your arm, if it falls, it can actually knock your power off. And the rest of your neighbors could be on. So it's like you definitely want to make sure and if you can't do it, get somebody to trim them, especially away from the power line. Because if they big lines like your leg or them trunks, they're them the kind that'll knock your stuff off the house and now you out of power for days and not weeks. But just the small ones can put you out of power for days. So you want to trim those back, because when the storm is going on, the power company can't come out.
Right. And then you might want to talk with CNS Electric because as your power goes out, there's ways that CNS can assist. That's my brother and his company now.
I will say that one, being in Florida, for those of us, if you have been out of power for a day, 3 days, a week or more, then we start thinking about emergency power. And I tell people, if you got the money for the whole home generators, they're great, but they are very expensive. A lot of people, it's very inexpensive to get a portable generator, and make sure you get with a licensed or qualified electrician on how to.
CNS.
Yeah. CNS Electric can definitely help you with on a portable generator, which can power your home. And the biggest thing is, like with most people, you want to make sure your refrigerator, your freezer, so you don't lose all your food. Because you got to go to the grocery store. The hurricane is going to hit right after you went to the grocery store. All your food goes spoil because you can't get enough ice. After one day you're fine. On the second day when it melts, now your foods are going to start spoiling. But I would say that if you're contemplating a generator, and generators are a good way to keep you up and running, a good safety precaution is, if you're going to use a home generator, you need to make sure that they are a minimum of 10 feet away from your windows, doors, garages. And you want to make sure the exhaust is pointed away. Some people recommend 20. I'm saying a minimum of 10. Some say 5, but I say keep it a minimum of 10 feet away from those windows and doors and garages, because carbon monoxide is odorless, it's invisible, and it will put you to sleep and you will not wake up.
Right.
And even if it doesn't, or it will make you nauseous, and then you have to go to the emergency room, you can survive it, but it takes you through some horrible things. And being in this industry, I've seen way too many people like trying to operate it within their garages. You can't see it.
Right.
You can't smell it, but it comes in. And the thing about the portable generators, when there's a storm going on, let the storm pass. You have to let the storm pass. Do not attempt to start a generator because your power goes out and the storm is still there. Your food won't spoil. You got a whole day. The hurricane, as bad as it is, it might take 6, 8, 9, 10 hours. It passes over. Your food and you'll be safe. That time you want to be down. You need that generator when the storm is past, and now it's 95 degrees and you have no power.
Right.
That's when you want to plug up your generator. Do not go out in the rain when the storm is going on. It's like being in this industry. I've seen people create bigger problems for themselves trying to cut limbs during a storm, trying to start a generator. Like the hurricanes, they go by like in waves. So you'll get 10 minutes to where it's perfectly calm. And then 15 minutes later, here it comes back like a fury. That's not the time to bring. No, you have to wait till it is past. And once it's past, that's when you operate that generator. And if you are even contemplating operating a generator, you want to have a carbon monoxide detector in your home. If you got regular smoke detectors, you can replace one with a carbon monoxide / smoke detector, because it will let you know if there's carbon monoxide. If you don't have electric ones, you can buy battery operated. Please, if you're even thinking about using a portable generator, make sure you have at least one carbon monoxide detector in a common area in your home so that invisible odorless gas cannot get into your home and lull you to sleep.
All right. So how people can reach CNS?
You can reach CNS Electric at cnselectric1@gmail.com. That's CAND like C and S electric1@gmail.com. Easy to send us an email, or you could call at 478-329-9708. And we
Say
can
it
have
again. Get a number again.
it's 407-832-9708. Or the email is cnselectric1@gmail.com, and we can communicate with you. Or we could actually discuss, because there's some very cost-effective ways. Like a lot of people, you already have a generator, so it doesn't take much. You don't even have to. And now you can buy the generator; they're not going to be in sale because it's hurricane season.
Right.
So preferably, you generally want to buy them before the hurricane comes.
Yeah.
But you can still buy them now, but you're going to pay full price.
Right.
It's normally better to get it after hurricane season because they'll knock the price. You'll save $300-400 if you can do it. But it's kind of too late now because it's hurricane season. You can still get one, but you want to get it before the storm hits. Because once the storm hits, you can't find it. You cannot find one.
But the biggest thing is preparing your home right now. And that's why CNS will come in handy. So reach out to my brother because you want your home to be prepared at this time. You have a comment? Oh, the number.
That number was 407-832-9708.
Okay. All right. And just kind of going back a little bit when we were talking about the branches, I try to make sure all my branches is cut because I don't need nothing flying through my windows neither.
Yes. Yeah, even worse, they become a missile.
Right. All right. So the next one here, know your zone, have a plan. And basically we're talking about just, are you in a area that you need to evacuate for the most part? So, brothers want to comment on that? Know your zone.
You definitely need to know where your location is at, because if a hurricane is coming, you got to know if it's coming towards you, how much time you got to get out the way of it, and that's part of your plan. What's your step one when breaking news, hurricane will be hitting Orlando in 3 hours? Okay, family, what do we do? Step one, grab an emergency kit. So you have to have a plan there. So know your zone. Simple. You can go online. You can watch the news. There's going to be all type of media outlets that'll let you know what zone you're in and what time you need to evacuate. He's saying you want to try to get out early because you know you're not the only person in your community. The road's going to be packed. You don't want to be stuck in traffic when the hurricane do hit. You live an hour too late, an hour early.
Add to that?
Yeah, and with the evacuation, like that's very important. If you're going to evacuate, you need to do it in a timely manner. If you are going to stay, you need to be prepared to stay. But you got to make an educated decision, because if it warns you to evacuate and it gets to a certain number, you should be evacuated. But if you decide to stay, understand you need to be prepared to stay and deal with the consequences, like your area. Not even the flood zones, but certain areas, it might not be considered a flood zone, but certain areas flood from the rain. And the problem is when the hurricanes come, the rain gets so saturated that then when the hurricanes come with more rain, that water, not only groundwater, but the sewers, they get full and it goes to the lakes. And once they get so high, now that water backs up. So you need to be conscious of, you can't decide to go, not a time to be driving if you're in an area where you see 2-3 feet of water. Like people do it all the time. When the water is too high, it is not safe to drive it because it'll stall your car. Right. And now you're stranded. And you don't want to be stranded in water because if a power line goes down, it can be 100 yards down the road. Electricity travels almost at the speed of light. And it is not safe to be in standing water because you may not see the power line down, but it could literally be down in the water and you're not going to see it.
That's important. That's an important key tip there. Because you may not think that water is something wrong. It can be anything in water, especially that. I would also add to that to say, locate your nearest shelter. Because even if you have to evacuate, even if you have to do that, you may want to make sure that you go to your local shelter, because it's going to be important that if you don't want to leave, town or don't want to leave the state, find your local shelter. And then on top of that, like if you are like a special needs person, you need to know where the special needs shelters are, so that you can also evacuate towards that as well. Last but not least, I think I hear some music, so I think we're coming to the end of our show. So, Zeke, I'll start with you, sir. To close out, what you took from the show today. Last word.
That is very, very important to become cognizant of these new laws that will affect your life. So, most of these laws come in effect either July 1st or October 1st. So, when you got some downtime, just go online and look and see what new laws have been passed so that you don't become a victim of it.
Yeah, and I would say because the word of the day was change. Change is coming. And you want to be on the positive change. Don't get stuck on the wrong.
All right, and I'll leave everyone with this. Justice is not a courthouse word. I say justice. It's a calling. When we stand for the overlooked and speak for the unheard, we become the hands and feet of something greater than ourselves. I leave it with the scripture. It's Amos 5:24. But let justice roll down like waters and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. So from the host, I say peace and prosperity. From Live Talk, we are out. Thank you for watching Live Talk. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Live Talk Orlando. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit on the notification button so that you can see more videos like this. You want to join the show? Email us at livetalkorl@gmail.com. You can also follow the host on Facebook and Instagram at Arthur Jeremiah. And visit the website, thenoystore.com, to pick up your copy of The Spiritual Significance of a Name.